All right, so let's look at a little bit more review. And your directions are still going to be to simplify. It's just a little bit more than last time. All right, so let's talk about the first one, and then I'll put up two more, and then pause the video. All right, while you work on them. Real quick, how do you simplify this? Like, what do I mean? FOIL. FOIL is our favorite four-letter F word. I mean, math F word, right? Our favorite four-letter F word. And FOIL. FOIL is just a fancy way to help us to remember to distribute two things instead of one, like we did last time. So we're going to double distribute. We're going to distribute the N, and then we're going to distribute the 4. And when you do that, you should have some like terms that need to go together. Okay? Does this ring a bell? Yeah? This is what I wanted you to watch the earlier video on. All right, so let's see. We get n squared minus 5n plus 4n minus 20. And most of the time you will have a like set of like terms. And so you will need to go one step further and combine them. Do I have to write the 1 I just wrote in the middle? No, if I just put n, it's the same thing, right? All right, so let me give you a couple more to think about. I only have 3 total, so I only got 2 more for you. All right, now, there is a little bit of a special case to each one of them. All right, so let's talk about them before I pause the video. What does it mean to square something like this? Because it has addition in it, or subtraction. What does it mean to square anything? Multiply it by itself. So guys, please don't try to take any shortcuts here. You need to write it twice and then FOIL it out. Okay? Now, before you go do that, let's look at number 3 together, and then I'll pause the video. There's 3 things to multiply together here. Okay? 3 things. Do y'all see that? All right? You can only multiply 2 at a time. So what I suggest is that you FOIL these 2 together first, simplify it as much as you can, and then distribute the 3 onto that answer. Okay, you're going to have to do it in parts. All right, take a few minutes and do this. All right, Grady, would you please tell me what you get when you distribute the y? Plus. Okay, and then I go back and distribute the 1, Caitlin. Plus another y. Plus 1. Okay, and then we put it together. What do we get in the middle? 2y. Questions on that? Okay. All right, and then the third one, right? We're going to FOIL. That's just fancy for double distribute, and we're going to hang on to the 3 for later. I'm just going to use a bracket so that I don't forget it's there. I'm going to carry it over. Hopefully you guys got g squared minus 3g, then plus 10g minus 30. And I guess technically you could distribute the 3 now, but you really should follow the order of operations and finish simplifying what's inside first. Okay? And did I mess something up? I'll see a few looks. Okay. G squared plus 7g minus 30. And then the last step is going to be to distribute that 3. So don't lose it along the way. 3g squared plus 21g minus 90. 90. okay? Because you're distributing, not dividing. You're multiplying. Questions on that? Okay, so then what we're getting ready to do is we're getting ready to start with this sort of answer. That's called a trinomial, okay? And turn it back into those double parentheses, okay, that we started when we FOIL. All right? Now, can you check your work? Can you always check your work when you factor? Yeah, you just multiply them back together and make sure you got what you started with, okay? All right, so we're going to call this part 2, okay? And we're going to be, so you're going to factor the trinomials in the form, all right? So right now they're all going to look like just a regular x squared. And then there's going to be either a plus or a minus, a number times x, and then another plus or minus the number. All right? And the way you do that, like after you set up your double parentheses, okay, you're going to have to find two integers, okay? Integers being like whole numbers, but that includes positives and negatives. Two integers that multiply to be c, okay? And I'm talking about the number at the end there. To multiply to be c, and add to be b. B is the number in the middle, okay? So you have to find two numbers that multiply to be the last one and add to be the middle one. Are we okay with that? Maybe you need to see an example, all right, to know what I'm talking about. All right, so here's an example. All right, here's a trinomial. Right now, we're not worried about ones with numbers in front, okay? So I'm not even worried about looking for a GCF yet. I just want us to get back in the habit of how to unfoil. All right, so you're going to start by putting your double parentheses. All right, now, how am I going to get that x squared? What do I have to put in the front of each? Think about when we reviewed. How did we get the letter squared? You got to put 1 in the front of each, okay? That's a given. All right, but then we follow this rule I just wrote up here. Find two integers that multiply to be c. All right, well, c is 6. So I need to find, and it's positive 6 in this problem. I need to find two numbers that multiply to be positive 6 and then add to be positive 5. Okay, so 1 and 6, but be careful because negative 1 and negative 6 also multiply to be positive. All right, and then 2 and 3, but also negative 2 and negative 3. But I need a pair that that adds to be positive 5. And that's my 2 and my 3. Okay? And they're both positive. So I'm going to put plus 2 and plus 3. Is this all coming back to you? A little bit? All right, and that has been factored. All right? Now, I'm going to give you a similar problem, but change one thing. I'm going to say x squared minus 5x plus 6. So we're going to start out exactly the same way by putting what in the front of each? X. But this time I need a pair that multiplies to be positive 6, but adds adds to be what kind of 5? Negative. So that's why I did my whole list over here. All right? The positive 2 and 3 went with the first one. But how do I add any of these pairs and get negative 5? Use the negative 2 and negative 3. So then what's going to go in my parentheses? X minus 2 and x minus 3. Questions? All right, now I'm going to change it a little bit. All right, what if I gave you x squared minus 5x minus 6? This time, I need a pair that multiplies to be what number? Negative 6. Well, what are my options? I could do a positive 1 and a negative 6, or I could do a negative 1 and a positive 6. I could also do a positive 2 and a negative 3, or a negative 2 and a positive 3. I'm just giving you options, okay? Those are all the possible ways to get negative 6. But I need my pair, whatever pair I choose, has to add up to be what kind of 5? Negative. Of all those pairs, which one adds up to be negative 5? The first one, second one, third one, fourth one. First one. So that's the pair I'm going to use over here. Okay? Now, I'm still going to start the same way. Put my x in the front of each set of parentheses. But then what's going to go in them? Plus 1 minus 6. All right, so what do you think I have for your fourth example? Any ideas? I got 2 pluses, a plus, a minus minus. How about a plus and then a minus? So again, I need 2 numbers that multiply to be negative 6. I already have all my list, but it has to add to be what? Has to add to be positive 5. Which pair here adds to be positive 5? The second one. So that's the pair I'm going to put over here. Which means I'm going to have, in my parentheses, x what? Minus 1 and x plus 6. Now, do you think it matters if you put the x plus 6 first and the x minus 1 second? No, because multiplication is what we call commutative. So as long as your parentheses are correct, it doesn't matter which parenthesis you write first. Okay? Questions? All right, and how could I check these? I could always do what? Boil them back together. All right, so I'm going to write up a couple of examples for you guys to do, and then of course I'll pause the video and give you a chance to work. All right? Now, I tend to always make a list like I did for the ones at the top for my factors, but you guys don't have to do that. That's just a personal preference, all right? But I will tell you, you definitely need to know some multiplication tables or be able to figure it out with a calculator. All right, real quick, before I pause the video, what do you think we should do first in number 8? What's wrong? What's different about number 8? The order. Okay, so we want to rewrite it in a better order. All right, what should go first? X squared. Good. What should go in the middle? The negative 8x. And so then what's the 14 is positive, so we put plus 14. All right. And then what do you think happens if you can't find a pair that makes it work? What do you think we write if it doesn't factor? What's that P word? Prime. Okay, very good, Caitlin. All right, so take a few minutes and do this one. Okay, so we're back. All right, so we're going to set up our double parentheses. All right, we're going to put in our X. And who can tell me the pair that multiplied to be positive 21 and added to be positive 10? Okay, positive 7 and positive 3. Are we okay with that? Does it matter which one I put first? No, as long as they have the correct signs. All right, second one. All right, put your X's. All right, this time I have to multiply to be positive 16, but add to be negative 8. Anybody but Ferris, just because I know he's good. Positive 16 multiply, but add to be negative 8. Negative 4 and negative 4. Now, what do you notice about those two things? Do you notice anything? They're the exact same. Can you write something a little bit different if you have something times itself? What can I do? I can write it once with a square. Okay, so you don't have to, but it's just an option. Okay? All right, how about number 7? We need to multiply to be negative 9 and then add to be negative 8. Good. Positive 1 and negative 9. Questions? All right. What about number 8? Were you able to find a pair that multiplied to be positive 14 and added to be negative 8? So this didn't work. So what did you guys write instead? Prime. Prime. Okay? Questions on that? All right, let's bump it up a notch. Now we're going to look at some multi-step factoring. All right? And all that's going to be, all right, is you're going to need to look for a GCF first, okay? Then factor. I mean, GCF is part of factoring, but then factor the trinomial. Okay? So, how do I know that I should probably look for a GCF in the first place? Well, there's more than just, it starts with a number instead of just the letter squared. All right? It starts with a number instead of just the letter squared. That's your indication that you should absolutely look for a GCF first. So now we're putting the two things we've talked about today together. What goes into every piece here? 2. But no letters, right? Because the 24 doesn't have a letter, so I can't take out a Y. All right? Do not go straight to your double parentheses. You have to figure out what's left after you take out the GCF. All right? We get a Y squared minus, what's 16 divided by 2? 8y plus 12. Now you don't even look at the original anymore. You look at your new parentheses to figure out what your factors are. All right, so we're going to put a y in front of each. And then we need a pair that multiplies to be positive 12 and adds to be negative 8. So the only way to be positive and then add to be negative is to have 2 negatives. So hopefully you know that. All right. 2 and 6. Good. All right, and then last one for this section here. Bump it up a little tiny bit. Make it a little bit different. than all the rest. Look for that GCF first because of the 3 in front. And right now, whatever that number is in front should be the GCF. All right, because we haven't gotten to the more complicated ones yet. Now, there's a lot more letters, but I can't take any of them out. I can only take out the 3. So let's just start with that. And then I'm going to set up my double parentheses. Okay? Well, what's going to go in the front of each? How am I going to get that x squared? Put an x in the front of each. Okay. So how do you think I'm going to get the y squared in the back? Put a y in the back of each. And now all we have to do is worry about the numbers. Okay? The middle, the x times y in the middle will take care of itself. All right? So I need a pair that multiplies to be -6. So that's going to be 1 positive and 1 negative, right? And add to be +5. All right, 6 and 1, and which one is positive? The 6. Do I have to write the 1 here? No, because the y is there. But if the y was not there, I'd absolutely have to write the 1. Now, I just want to show you that the middle takes care of itself, because if I were to FOIL, right, then you can always check yourself, all right? These 2 would give me 6xy, and these 2 would give me -1xy. And when I add them, I would get 5xy. Questions?